Rachel, you do a lot of work on Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, that's true.
Are there any new breakthroughs in that research? Because I know we're always looking for potential cures or any way to help people who have Alzheimer's.
Yeah, actually, recently there's a company, AC Immunogen, that has developed a vaccine for Alzheimer's disease. It's still really early. It's in some early clinical trials, but it's pretty exciting.
That is exciting.
Weird that you can make a vaccine to treat neurodegenerative disease. Usually we think about that for pathogens like smallpox.
Yeah. Well, when is it? Because normal vaccines are given like early in birth. Is this sort of vaccine something that you take early on, or?
Ideally, you would take it as early as possible in the disease progression, but sometimes we don't know if someone's going to develop Alzheimer's disease until they start showing symptoms. This company, AC Immune, is developing the vaccine. And you might be wondering how they're doing this, because normally we'll develop vaccines against like dead viruses. It'll recognize things on the outside surface of the virus capsid. So how are you doing this for Alzheimer's disease?
Yeah, because I mean Alzheimer's is not viral based, but I mean we did do a video showing that herpes virus caused some of the variants.
Yeah,
of
so
Alzheimer's.
Viruses are definitely playing a part, but this vaccine is actually unrelated to viruses. Instead, it's AC Immune's strategy is to train your immune system to recognize A beta plaques. And A beta plaques, you might remember from our Alzheimer's disease video, this is a protein that is accumulating in the brain of Alzheimer's disease patients in these protein clumps called plaques. And it's one of the major problems in the brains of these patients. So if you could clear these plaques, then we think that it would improve the situation for these patients.
Because they're almost like little neuron tangles, right? And that it kind of prevents some of the synapses from...
Exactly. It messes with communication between your neurons, and it can cause cell death. So the plaques are bad news, and we want to get rid of them. So this vaccine will help your immune cells to recognize plaques and clear them better.
You mentioned that they've developed this vaccine. How far are they in the process?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as of now, they've completed phase 1B, and phase 1B in a clinical trial is where you determine what is a good dose to give patients, what's a safe dose, and what's not going to cause problems. So they've passed that phase, and they're on to phase 2. So in phase 1B, you have a really small cohort of people, probably like 10 to 20, and then in phase 2, you expand that cohort to up to about 100 people. You are looking at safety as well as effectiveness of the vaccine. So is it actually clearing the plaques? And it's going to be a little interesting how they monitor that.
Yeah, because I guess you can't really go and crack open someone's brain and see, hey, this is working.
I mean, you could take cerebral spinal fluid. I don't actually, I mean, I would assume this A beta protein leaks into the cerebral spinal fluid.
Yeah, still a hard procedure too.
Yeah, so I'll be interested to read about how they monitor that. Or maybe just improvement in cognitive function.
Yeah. So who is eligible for this sort of phase 2 trial?
That's an interesting question in this case. One of the biggest challenges in neurodegenerative research is that we don't really know who is going to develop these diseases until you start showing symptoms. And some of these treatments will be most effective at the earliest stages.
So it's almost like when you see symptoms, you can sort of treat it, but it's already starting to progress, so it's going to be too late.
Exactly. You're already probably having death of neurons and interruption of synapses, things like that. AC Immune is actually testing their vaccine in individuals with Down syndrome. And the reason for that is kind of interesting. So before I go into it, I just want to explain a little bit of background on Down syndrome, because we haven't talked about that. We have talked about DNA before, and how all humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes, and these chromosomes store genes, which are like the recipes to make all the things that you need in the cells. And these chromosomes, you're only supposed to have 46 of them, right? So sometimes there are complications in cell division, and you can end up, in cell division you duplicate all your chromosomes, and then you're supposed to divide them exactly evenly into the 2 daughter cells. Sometimes there are problems with this, and you end up with too many in one cell and too few in the other cell, and that's exactly what happens in the case of Down syndrome. And this specifically happens with chromosome 21. This is actually one of the smallest chromosomes. Individuals that have Down syndrome, common traits that they'll have is intellectual disabilities and developmental delays, and they have some classic physical characteristics too, like upward slanted eyes.
They tend to gain weight pretty easily too.
But they have low muscle tone, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, and the occurrence of Down syndrome is about 1 in 700 births, so there's about 6,000 births a year.
And there's a correlation between the age of the mother and the likelihood of having a child with Down syndrome.
Yeah, the maternal age effect. How does this relate to Alzheimer's disease? Well, the chromosome 21 actually happens to be the home of the APP gene, amyloid precursor protein, and this is the gene that provides the information to make those A beta plaques.
So they're going to have 3 copies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. Individuals with Down syndrome are already, right off the bat, much more likely to develop Alzheimer's disease than the general population. And in fact, by age 60, it's almost certain that they will develop Alzheimer's disease.
And that's kind of why, so when we look at genes and how people express genes, in your normal chromosomes, like the ones that aren't your sex chromosomes, you express like both copies from your parents. But if you have another copy, that means you're expressing 3 times more the gene 3 times more the gene product, when you really should just be expressing 2 copies.
Exactly. Obviously, this is like very devastating that these individuals that already have Down syndrome and these intellectual problems are now going to develop Alzheimer's disease. But for this company, it's also kind of an opportunity because they know that they will develop Alzheimer's disease at a very predictable rate. So they kind of know when is a good time to get in and start treatment at the earliest stages. So that's kind of why AC Immune is using these individuals with Down syndrome as part of their clinical trial. It's like the perfect control to be able to start exactly when the plaques will start forming.
Right, because so many other people have variances in times when those plaques will form. So it's kind of like throwing a dart and trying to get the bullseye and very likely not hitting it.
We'll definitely keep track of this vaccine and let you know if there's any developments.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to see.